Hello everyone, my name is Arun and welcome to my channel. This series is a series of plotting tutorials using Matplotlib in Python. Now in this tutorial we will be looking at stack plots. Let's say you have some information and you want to plot them one after the other, as like stacking them one after the other. For instance, the budgets in a particular city for a particular year, and you want to see how the timeline of that goes by. What you like to know is that you like to know the relative contributions of each data, and at the same time you want to know the cumulative contribution of all of them. In those kind of cases, stack plots are very helpful. Just to give you an idea of how stack plot looks like, this is how a stack plot will look like for a particular information. Let's say there is one city. I just named it after my hometown, but nevertheless this can be any city. Let's say there are some expenses in a particular city and I wanted to plot them between year 2000 and 2010. Let's say I have some data, okay, and the expenses in that particular city are categorized into 5 categories, namely, for simplicity, namely education, medication, charity, infrastructure and defense. And if I want to plot them up, okay, and such that I stack them up, and I also show the relative contribution of what each of them are in the form of a pictorial representation, and this is what I need. This stack plot will be really helpful, and I'm going to tell you all how you can generate this kind of a stack plot in this example. For that we need some simple data to start with. So what I've done here is I just created a data type years, which is going to be between 2000 and 2010. Okay, just plain numbers, nothing more than that. And then I've created 5 variables, okay, whose values lie between 1 and 10, and there are 11 values in number. This will indicate our expenses in millions or billions or some rupees or dollars or whichever way you put it, okay. And then we'll talk about these 3 in a moment, okay. And let me comment this out. To make a simple stack plot, what you need is you just need this command plt.stackplot, and then you plot the y-axis time series, and then you plot the x-axis time series, x-axis time series and the y-axis value. Like this is the x-axis and this is your y-axis value, okay. And now if you run this particular thing, this is how you get a single stack plot for a particular data type, for a particular data. Okay, you get a normal plot and everything between the bottom and the top is actually colored up. Alright, and now to specify the color and the label, in the color option the label option won't work, so instead you have to use the colors option and the labels option. And since colors, as the name indicates, is plural, you need multiple arguments for this, so you have to pass them as a list. So if you have a single data type such as this one, and you want to pass it, you want to pass the color and label attribute, you have to give it in the form of a list or a tuple, whichever way you go about with it. But it has to be an array, some form of an array. Okay, this way you are able to give a color and label to a stack plot, and you can use the legend option to get them done. Okay, and now suppose you have multiple data types. Let's say like you have multiple data and you want to stack all of them together, and you want to get an accumulated plot at the same time an individual contribution. You go like this: you type plt.stackplot, and you plot the x-axis variable, put the x-axis variable, and you plot the corresponding y-axis the plots one after the other. And what you do is in this colors option, you pass a list indicating what should be the colors of them, colors of each and every color representation for each and every one of them, and the the value corresponds to them. For instance, blue will correspond to the first data entry, green corresponds to the second data entry, and so on and so forth. And then you give a label that corresponds to the particular data entry accordingly, and that has to be in let's say an array, a list as well. So it can be a list or a tuple, it will work either way. Nevertheless, you have to keep in mind it has to be an array. So if I run this, you will get the plot we just saw initially. Okay, since this is a random number plot, the values might vary accordingly, but nevertheless you get an idea how this looks like. Okay, and instead of writing it in big multiple lines like this, you can actually compact this up, and that is by using a compacted list over here. So these 5 are numpy arrays. Now if I keep all these numpy arrays as a list, Okay, and I set up all the labels and colors as separate lists. For instance, I can just instead of writing this code in 3 lines, okay, I can write this in a single line. Okay, this is much more simpler and compact. I just have to put years and expenses, and then instead of colors I can put this colors array which I defined over here, and instead of labels I can put this labels array over here, and this will take care of it. And now if I run this particular code over here, and there we go. Okay, and there we go. And now you will be getting you'll be able to get the plot. And if you are working with random numbers, okay, for simple data types, okay, and if you want the plot to be consistent throughout, you need what you call as a random seed option. So if you set np dot random dot seed, and then you give some values like some value, doesn't matter, just give up some value over here, and if you run this, you get a particular data type. And now even if you run this again, you'll get a more or less the similar one, and without much change. So if I run this again, check this out, I'll get 2 figures. Yeah, I get 2 figures, I get the same repetition. These are numbers, but I'll get the same repetition. Thereby you'll be able to reproduce the figures without any problem. Alright, now that's all I have for you all in this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time in another interesting video. Till then, take care.